proof of adultery. I know so many people who complain about their jobs, what they do, and who they work with. I hear endless stories about men who chase married women around the office and married women who cheat on their husbands, as well as the usual liars, gamblers, and those climbing the career ladder. These stories always involve unreasonable bosses, unpaid overtime, and so many teenage co-workers that I can't keep track. For a long time, I found these stories funny. It was like a scary story told around a campfire. It wasn't real. It was just otherworldly nonsense meant to scare and amuse. That was until it became very real and the pain hit very close by. My name is Ben Gregory. I'm 29 years old, and I'm a civil engineer by trade. I design bridges, roadways, and the like. My wife's name is Alexandria, and I address her as Alex. She's a year younger than me, works as an office manager at a small law firm, and I adore her. I've never cheated on Alex, would never cheat on her, and I trust her completely. Our life isn't too interesting, but it has everything we want. I wake up in the morning to find her sleeping peacefully next to me, and a couple days a week we manage to get to bed early to talk, cuddle, and make love. If there is a better life, I don't know it. Here's what may be the best part of my story. Somehow, and I honestly don't know how, my wife and I managed to find jobs where we avoid all the office drama. We've both found jobs in great offices with great people who have become real friends to us. So our lives are pretty boring, right? How do I know about all this teenage office craziness? Well, no job is perfect, and there are a few rotten apples in every barrel. Besides, we have neighbors, and neighbors have friends. We also belong to several clubs, gardening, biking, etc., and a gym. It is inevitable that from time to time we run into someone who doesn't know how to behave. I truly believe that most people are nice, but it seems that at every party or get-together there is always that asshole you look at when he is talking to your wife. For example, she told me to never let one neighbor leave her alone. He once cornered her in the kitchen and she doesn't trust him. As long as she keeps him under control and he behaves, he will keep his teeth. Someday, if he goes too far, he'll lose them. I made that promise to myself. So as you can see, I trust my wife. But I take these assholes seriously. It was Friday night. Alex and I were going out to dinner and dancing with friends at one of the best hotels in the neighboring town. We try to get out for a simple dinner once every 2 weeks and a dance once a month, and sometimes it's just fun to get out of town. I'm a terrible dancer, but I love holding my wife in my arms, moving to the music and trying my best not to step on her toes. When we get together with good friends who share our values, it's not uncommon for us to switch partners for a dance or two. I dance with my friend's wife, and my friend dances with Alex. It's all quite normal. We were with 2 couples, Sean and Debbie O'Malley and Ned and Janet Davis. Sean is another engineer where I work, and Janet handles billing and payroll. I was dancing with Debbie when she nudged me, saying, "Don't look, but isn't that Barbara Perkins coming in? And isn't that her husband, David, she came in with?" How can you not look when someone says, "Don't look"? We turned slowly on the dance floor until I saw the object of Debbie's interest. And yes, it was Barbara, and it wasn't her husband. In a normal situation, that wouldn't have meant much. David could have parked the car. The guy could have been her brother or cousin. Except in the office, I knew David was out of town on company business. And judging by the way she looked him in the eye and pressed his hand tightly to her chest, we quickly ruled out the brother or cousin option. We decided to remain inconspicuous for now, keep to the shadows, and see what would happen. For the next half hour, they kissed each other a lot at the table and pawed and rubbed each other on the dance floor. The mystery man had had an attraction all night, and Barbara was by no means aware of it. Perhaps the way she was running her hand over his dignity had something to do with it. Soon all 6 of us had had enough. We tried to ignore it, but it was literally the elephant in the room, or at least the trunk of an elephant. David was our friend, and we didn't like what we were seeing. We didn't like it one bit. After a while, we retired to a quiet corner of the bar, a little farther down the hall from the music, where we could talk. And we began to discuss what we should or should not do with Barbara and her very friendly companion. As luck would have it, the bar had a great view of the elevators that led to the hotel rooms on the upper floors. I honestly don't know what we would have decided if it had ended there, but about an hour after we retired to the bar, we saw Barbara and her very good friend enter the elevator and go up to the 7th floor. The only thing there were hotel rooms, that is, rooms with beds. We all looked at each other. Not a word was spoken. There was no doubt in anyone's mind. Barbara was cheating on our good friend, and we were in the unpleasant position of knowing it. What to do at a time like this? If I were David, I would certainly want to find out, but would he? We briefly considered the fact that he already knew, but David is not a swinger. Opinions at the table were divided. The men wanted to tell David. The wives said, "Stay out of it. It's none of our business." Husbands have a knack for saying the wrong thing at the worst possible time, and I'm no exception. I said to my wife, "So, if I were leaving you with some cheating woman, you wouldn't want your friends to tell you about it?" All I did was ask a question, but the drive home that night was freezing cold. I guess I wasn't the only husband who had a conversation with his loving wife that evening. For reasons of self-preservation, I avoided the topic on Saturday. Sunday afternoon, I got together with Sean and Ned, and by then we had only one topic of conversation. What to do about David? The thing is, we all like David. He's a great guy. He's the kind of guy who will drop what he's doing to lend you a hand, listen to you when you're pondering a technical problem, and give you the shirt off his back if you need it. We thought we liked Barbara, too, but things were changing fast. There's always someone who thinks faster than me, or maybe a lot of people think faster than me. But I was still surprised when Sean pulled out his cell phone and showed us a series of pictures and videos he had taken unbeknownst to us. They started with Barbara saloving at a table and then dancing with his good friend and his outstanding arousal. Then Sean showed us a video of Barbara fondling a guy's body under the table, and the last one showing the two lovers walking hand in hand to the elevator. Ned got straight to the point. "Sean, this is a divorce you're holding. You know about it, right?" "Yeah, what am I supposed to do with it?" "Ben said that on Friday night. If you were David, would you want to know?" "Very true. First, I'd want you to get my guns out of the house, but after that, I'd want to know." I looked at both of my friends, and we were all thinking the same thing. We can't stand by and watch her cuckold our good friend. We need to know, and we'll think of ways to get our wives involved when we're sure. Sean, Ned, and I have decided that this is a job best left to the professionals. I told you I have great friends, and we were willing to spend some money to help one of them out. I contacted a private investigator named Harvey Madison, and we met with him on Monday afternoon. Harvey was all business. He listened to our story, watched the videotapes, asked pointed questions, and thought before giving his opinion. The first opinion was the expected, "This is going to cost you." We knew. "This David must be a good friend, or do you have other reasons for doing this?" We assured him that it was only a friendship and we would be happy if we were wrong. In fact, we wanted to be wrong. We weren't wrong, and we knew it. Harvey knew it too. There are two ways to do this. The first is perfectly legal and will probably cost you the most. The second is quicker and may provide evidence you can't use in a divorce case, but if we're lucky, it may not cost you as much. Plus, it's more reliable. In any case, I can get unequivocal evidence of adultery, but it's unlikely you'll be able to use it in court. Anyway, it's a no-fault state, and I'll be breaking the law a bit. Well, we liked the guy, but we weren't rich. Let's hear the second option first. I'll give you a GPS tracking device that you'll place under the bumper of her car. Can you do that? We all nodded. It was simple enough. She kept her car in the garage, but one of us could go borrow something and tag her easily enough. Tagging her car isn't exactly legal, but it means we won't have to spend as many hours watching and tracking her. We'll know when she's on the road, and it'll be easier for us to keep track of her. We all nodded like fools, looking at each other and mentally writing checks from our accounts. Do you have any idea when she'll try this again? We knew. David was in a rough phase of his latest project, Construction was behind schedule, so he was meeting with site management and doing his own inspections on weekends while the construction crew worked all week. He had to leave town again this Friday morning and wouldn't be home until Sunday. I'll tell 2 members of my crew to be ready to go by Friday night. You will secure this device firmly to the chassis of her car. Then we'll follow her wherever she goes. Harvey decided to use a team that could impersonate the couple so they could move freely around the hotel without attracting attention. Apparently, he had done this before. What happens if this asshole gets behind the wheel? He probably will, but she'll meet him somewhere first. My people are good. They won't lose them. And if there's any chance of tagging his car in the process, I'll just charge you for another beacon. With any luck, it's a one-night job. If we need a second night, tagging his car will be easier and cheaper the second time around. We probably won't get much, but at least we'll be able to clock them coming and going from the hotel room. If they behave as you described, her actions won't pass the husband check, and we can get just as much. What husband check? Will her husband approve of what she is doing? No, she won't pass the husband test. We can live with that. You want to know this asshole's name? We didn't recognize the guy, but suggested Harvey hold on to that information in case David needed it. We were already more deeply involved in this case than we realized. The rest of the week passed without incident. The hardest part was not saying anything to David. I felt like we were just watching him roll off the cliff and doing nothing. But we knew it would be worse if we alarmed him, and we were wrong. On Wednesday after dinner, unannounced, I stopped by David's house and borrowed his edger. Barbara greeted me with a kiss on the cheek, and I felt as if I had been bitten by a snake. David took me to the garage, and noticing that Barbara's car had rust on it, I slipped my hand under the fender and secured the fasteners so David wouldn't notice anything. Friday went by, then Saturday and Sunday. I took Alex out to dinner at a local restaurant and hoped we wouldn't cross paths with Barbara and her boner buddy. On Monday morning, Sean, Ned, and I received a text message suggesting we meet Harvey later that day. We were not surprised at this outcome. Barbara and her good friend spent Friday and Saturday night in room 623 of the same hotel and didn't leave until late Saturday morning. Harvey's team was lucky. They were able to rent room 621 and had everything they needed to make some very clear audio recordings through the wall between the rooms. They also had a small digital camera with a lens that turned a fisheye on the hotel room door, so they got some pretty nasty video of what was going on inside. The loving couple were in no hurry to turn off the lights. Now we had a decision to make, and before we made it, we needed to bring the wives up to speed. What did you do? Honey, Don't. You hired a private investigator without discussing it with me? And you spied on Barbara? Yes, but what if you're wrong? How am I going to look her in the eye after you stalked her and invaded her privacy? Honey, I was worried about David. I did it for him. And if she finds out? What then? Okay, that's enough. Now listen to me. When you and I got married, we talked about the importance of fidelity. This doesn't just apply to us, but to our friends and family as well. That lying fool is cheating on David, and David is my friend. I will go to great lengths to protect him, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let that vile, cheating bitch cuckold him while I sit back and do nothing. Do you understand me? It was the biggest fight in our marriage. I'm more than happy to lose Barbara as a friend. I don't need a friend who would do that to her husband. And when it comes to a fight, I'm going to tell her to her face that she's no longer welcome in this house. So will you tell me that you expect us to sit idly by while she destroys a good man, or will you help me to do what must be done? Oh, I drew a big line in the sand and hoped I wouldn't be sleeping on the couch that night. Alex was silent for a long time. When she finally blinked, she said, "No, I'll help. This fool is cheating and David needs to know about it." She was quiet for a moment, then added, "And if you ever do what she's doing, I won't hire a private investigator. I'll just grab a knife from the kitchen and kill you in your sleep." You have to understand what it means to me to have a wife I can trust. Knowing that she will never tolerate infidelity, nor will she commit it, is music to my ears. I just smiled and said, "Baby, I'd be disappointed in you if you didn't." I slept in our bed that night, although there was less sleep than I expected. Sometimes you just need to count your blessings, and it's best when you count them together. The next day at work, I learned that Sean and Ned had experienced a similar night. Tuesday after dinner, all three couples gathered at Ned and Janet's house, and we talked it over. On Wednesday, Sean, Ned, and I invited David over for a beer after work. After we got off work, we would make up an excuse and take him to our house where Alex, Debbie, and Janet would be waiting for him. We would sit him down with his wives sitting next to him, hand him a beer, and tell him what we knew. What could possibly go wrong? We knew what could go wrong. We were going to rip our friend's heart right out of his chest, and we were trying to keep him alive when we did it. Things could go wrong. Wednesday was an excruciatingly slow day. I tried to keep busy, but I didn't get anything done. Sean, Ned, and I stayed on top of the script. After work, we invited David out for a beer, and he happily agreed. Heading to the car, Ned said, "I need to stop by the house for a minute. It won't take long." When we pulled up to the house, he invited us in. Alex, Debbie, and Janet were waiting for us in the living room. They were smiling, but not very good at hiding their thoughts. Ned said, "I'll get a beer." The wives invited David to sit on the couch, and Alex and Debbie positioned themselves on either side of him. Janet took a seat on the edge of the couch, and Sean and I pulled a couple of dining room chairs over. Ned joined us, set his beer on the coffee table, and the room took on an unmistakable tinge of intervention. David looked around the room and asked, "What's going on? Why is everyone acting so weird?" Sean began, "David, you know we love you, man. We really do. We would never want to hurt you like this. Oh, it's hard." The wives supported Sean's struggle. They hugged David tightly, putting their heads on his shoulders and repeating Sean's words. Ned picked up on it. "David, 2 Friday nights ago we had dinner and a little dance. You were on the road, remember?" One by one we laid it all out for him. He refused to look. We took our time. He got angry. We had photos and videotapes. Then we showed him Harvey's report, played the audio and a short video taken through a telescope. We walked him through the evidence and explained everything to him. Piece by piece, we destroyed our friend. There were many tears that night, and not just David's. No one felt good about what we had done. We kept telling ourselves that if it was us, we would want to know. Even the wives eventually agreed to it. Nevertheless, we had caused our friend terrible pain and suffering, and we felt sorry for him. That night, David stayed at Ned and Janet's house. Janet called Barbara and told her that we had all had too much to drink, and she accepted that excuse. In the morning, Alex and I went back to the house and we all had breakfast together. Whether David slept that night or not, he was a different person Thursday morning. He knew the truth. He knew his mind. There was no forgiveness in it. The first thing he did after breakfast was call a lawyer he knew and got the name of a good divorce attorney. The second call got him an appointment before lunch. A third call allowed him a day off. Once David made his decision, he sprang into action. We offered for either of us to go with him, but he said he could handle it on his own. We put all the photos, videos, and files on a thumb drive, and David prepared for war. By noon, he had canceled their joint credit cards and divided the savings. After lunch, he went to work to withdraw it from his retirement account, but on the advice of his lawyer, he left it on his insurance for now. At 5:30 p.m., he went home to meet his wife. None of us witnessed the confrontation there, but we knew the neighbors and got the information. They didn't hear any screaming. There was no rattling of lamps or glass hitting the walls. David went into his house, and about an hour later, Barbara popped out the front door with a suitcase, eyes bulging and barely able to keep up. She collapsed into the car, cried for a while, and finally left the house. From the moment she left the house until she left the property, David stood on the porch and watched his soon-to-be ex-wife walk out of their marriage. I wish I could say it was over except for the lawyering, but I'd be lying. 7-year relationships and 5-year marriages don't end without pain. For the next few months, David was an unofficial member of 3 families. More often than not, he had dinner with one or the other family. We went to ball games, visited the bar after work, and often played golf on weekends. He even joined us on a few nights when the wives wouldn't let him off the dance floor. The day his divorce became final was hard on David. We drank too much and had a terrible hangover the next day. David survived his divorce, but it was killing us. Wives are tricky little souls. If we had to negotiate an intention to tell David what we knew about Barbara, they never told us about their plans to introduce David to every woman they knew. After several evenings of different women randomly showing up wherever we were, there was a joke between the guys. I wonder who they have scheduled for tonight. Will she be blonde, brunette, or redhead? We would let the wives hear us speculate on this. We also started placing bets on the size of their breasts. Okay, we kept that part to ourselves. It's been a year since David's divorce, and he seems to be doing well. He's not getting into a serious relationship with anyone yet, and all of his friends agree that it's a good idea for now. He needs to take it one step at a time, get over one relationship before starting another. We're not worried. David is a godsend, and if our wives have anything to say about it, he won't be single for very long. There is one dark aspect to this story that I should mention. David is not the type to seek revenge. Fortunately, we are. After fantasizing about various scenarios in which we broke Mr. Boehner's knees and kicked his privates down his throat, we settled on a simpler solution that involved no jail time for either of us. We gave his wife copies of everything we had. We decided she would be better off without him, and Mrs. Boehner agreed. The end? Subscribe to my channel? Thank you.